The wars in the Middle East and Ukraine are set to dominate the G7 summit, which gets underway tomorrow in France, close to the Swiss border. Earlier, clashes erupted between protesters and police during an anti-G7 demonstration in Geneva, with Swiss riot police firing tear gas and rubber bullets as tensions escalated. Water cannon were also deployed against the demonstrators. Some protesters responded by throwing projectiles and fireworks towards the police lines. Well, one of the leaders attending that summit is Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who is on an official visit to Ireland this weekend. And earlier today, he sat down with our correspondent Brian O'Donovan and spelled out clearly the priority the conflict in Iran would be given at the summit.
I think we need to focus on the most important issues for the world right now. And we're encouraged as we sit down of the progress with respect to a potential more durable ceasefire with Iran, but what needs to be done to reinforce it. So that's, in many respects, is topic number one for the G7 and importantly for the partner countries from the Gulf who are coming. So that's number one. Number two is Ukraine, Ireland, Canada, European Union countries are part of the coalition of the willing, which exists to support a peace when there is a peace. We need to do more, and some of us are able to do more, in order to ensure that that peace comes now in Ukraine, not, I mean, I have a very strong view. We know how this war is going to end, and it is with the Ukrainian victory, and every day that it goes on is a tragedy in terms of loss of human life.
Now, you spoke yesterday at Trinity and, of course, famously earlier this year at Davos about the rupture that we have seen in the world order and about the need for smaller middle powers, as you call them, smaller countries to form alliances. Where does Ireland fit in with that vision?
I think Ireland fits very importantly in this vision, several respects. First, you start when you look, given the circumstance that we're living through, and you build back out from it. You look for like-minded countries. You look for countries that share your same value, because in the end, one of the lessons we certainly take from recent events and over recent years is that close ties can also be used against you. We used to just think of deepening ties and the positive aspects of them. Well, your friends aren't going to do that, those who have the same values.
But the forging of the new alliances comes against a backdrop of a shift away from the US. But is it realistic for Canada to shift away from the US, this massive trading partner on your doorstep? You are so reliant on them for your exports. And I note that Canada has entered a technical recession this year. It's a tricky time for Canada, is it not? And do you not need the US?
So Canada, our April GDP figures are very strong. We're creating jobs over the last year, twice the rate of the United States. Foreign investment in Canada is twice the rate of the United States, is far and away highest in the G7. Our export growth is up sharply away from the United States. Business investment's up 10%, machinery equipment. The Canadian economy is transforming itself. Now, you don't transform overnight, but you do transform when the world changes. The world's changing because the technology is changing. Look, it's the US's right to change how they conduct their trade policy. We're reacting to that, and we're building.
But is it not hitting you when you look at the economic figures in Canada?
No. Well, we always want the economy to improve, and it's not going. The transformations don't happen overnight. But we're a AAA country. We're a AAA country. We have the best fiscal position by far of anyone in the G7. We're able to support Canadians through higher food prices because of the Gulf War, higher fuel prices. We can provide support, and we are, to 12 million Canadians.
I read recently you became quite emotional at a St. Patrick's Day event this year, recalling your Irish roots. They mean so much to you. So what has today been like in your ancestral home?
Today has been very emotional, very positive emotions. Lots of First off, I've realized I have many more cousins than I had thought, which is good. It's always good to meet family. Secondly, just a very positive attitude. The lesson of course, my family, my grandparents is a familiar one, leaving during times of some difficulty, but retaining the values, retaining the ties, is part of why I knew of these ties, and then coming back and seeing how far Ireland has come.
Last year you said you would move to renounce your Irish citizenship before becoming Prime Minister. Now, you weren't required to do that by law. So what was the thinking there? Why did you decide to do
Well, I wasn't required to do it by law, and there are millions of Canadians who have dual citizenship. I just felt that as Prime Minister, as leader of a country, it needed to be straightforward and clear. it doesn't change my connection to Ireland, and certainly you can't change your history and the lessons you've learned and the values you've learned from that. But sometimes in politics and life, it's better to just keep things simple. So I returned the citizenship. There was no malice in it, and of course the ties remain as strong as ever.
Just very briefly to finish on a note that I know is close to your heart. You're a football fan.
Yes.
You're an Everton fan, I believe. Is that right?
This is right.
I have no doubt you were glued to the World Cup right now. Canada doing pretty well. Co-hosting with your nearest neighbours, do you think sport can help bridge some of the divides that have occurred over recent times?
I think, yes, sports at its best bridges those divides, and I'm sure the United States will take it well when we beat them in the final.
Will President Trump take it well?
I'll leave that one hanging.